Hey, before we get into the lesson this week, we need your help. Hi, I'm your Xtreme Kidz host, Jeffrey. We are looking for 10 people right now to serve on our Xtreme Kidz studio team in productions, scripts, editors, and as hosts. Remember, you can serve at any age from anywhere, so say yes!
Hey everyone, it's your Xtreme Kidz host.
I'm Jeffrey.
And I'm Miss Kelly. Welcome back to Xtreme Kidz. It's a new month and we're here to talk about some rules of the road. We're here to see how we can ride with respect. What is respect?
Respect is showing others they're important by what you say and do.
We've got to show respect when we're on the road, right?
We ride with respect when we obey the traffic rules and show kindness to other drivers.
If we all do that, it makes traveling on the road so much easier. There are a lot fewer traffic jams and a lot more happy drivers. Of course, respect isn't only important on the road, it's important in life.
We need to show people how much we value them with our words and actions.
Every single person was made in the image of God, so we should choose to show respect to each other in everything we do. So let's take some time now to show respect for God as we sing and worship together.
You love me like a friend and help me through. So I will worship you in all I do. So I live my life to show that I know you're everything to me. You're everything to me. You're everything to me. So I live my life to show that I know you're everything to me. You taught us a brand new way to follow you in what we do and say. Jesus, you are for us. Help us be more like you every day. Jesus, I thank you. I just want to sing. You're all that I need. You say that I mean so much to you. You love me like a friend and help me through. So I will worship you in all I do. So I live my life to show that I know you're everything to me. You're everything to me. You're everything to me. So I live my life to show that I know you're everything to me. I'm gonna lift my voice to you. Jesus, you make me sing. I'm gonna live my life for you. You're everything to me. I'm gonna lift my voice to you. Jesus, you make me sing. I'm gonna live my life for you. You're everything to me. You say that I mean so much to you. You love me like a friend and help me through. So I will worship you in all I do. So I live my life to show that I know. You say that I mean so much to you. You love me like a friend and help me through. So I will worship you in all I do. So I live my life to show that I know you're everything to me. You're everything to me. You're everything to me. So I live my life to show that I know you're
Now, we are about to hear a story of how Jesus chose some of the most unlikely people to be his closest friends and followers.
The story before the story.
Today, we're in the third book of the New Testament, Luke. But before Luke, in the very beginning, out of a deep, deep love, God made an amazing world. But when people turned away from God, the world was broken.
God made a plan to draw people back into a relationship. So at the right time, God sent a tiny baby to be born in the small town of Bethlehem, God's very own son, Jesus.
When Jesus grew up, he was baptized in the Jordan River. God spoke from heaven. This is my son, and I love him. I am very pleased with him. Which is where our story starts.
Take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian. After 40 days in the wilderness, Jesus began to go from town to town, teaching and healing. Even though he's God's son, he didn't start out in the capital city of Jerusalem. He didn't go to the fine homes of the religious leaders. Instead, Jesus met with ordinary, everyday people on hillsides and by the lake shore. And he chose some of the most unlikely people to be his closest friends and followers. 4 of these men were uneducated fishermen: Peter, Andrew, James, and John. One morning after a long night of fishing, Peter and his friends had caught exactly 0 fish.
What a drag. Cleaning the nets without a single fish to show for it.
I may fall asleep right here.
This morning, the fishermen weren't alone on the beach. Jesus was standing on the lakeshore, and though it was early, a huge crowd had gathered. They were so eager to get close to Jesus that they jostled and shoved, backing him right up to the water. But instead of pushing back, Jesus simply stepped over into Peter's boat and said,
"Go out a little way from shore."
Now, if you're Peter, you're probably feeling a whole bunch of things. On the one hand, after fishing all night, you really want to get home and go to bed. But on the other hand, this unusual teacher has singled you out of the crowd to help him. I mean, you're used to people just ignoring you, or wrinkling their noses at the fishy smell you can't get out of your clothes. With all those things racing through his head, Peter did just what Jesus asked and guided the boat a little way out from shore. When Jesus was done speaking, he turned to Peter and said,
"Go out into deep water. Let down the net so you can catch some fish."
Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything.
Now, even though Peter couldn't help protesting a little, he already respected Jesus' authority.
But because you say so, I will let down the nets.
Peter guided the boat out into deep water, and he and Andrew let down their nets, expecting more disappointment. Instead, whole schools of fish seemed to appear out of nowhere.
Oh, Andrew, pull harder.
The net is going to burst.
Peter called out to his fishing partners back on shore.
James, John, bring the boat.
It took everyone to reel in the nets. Both boats overflowed with floundering fish. Back on shore, Peter was so overwhelmed, he didn't give a single thought to that massive haul of fish. Instead, he threw himself down at Jesus' feet.
Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man.
Jesus smiled at the group of ragtag fishermen.
"Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people."
The crowd must have been shocked to see Jesus choose these common fishermen as close friends and disciples. Right away, Peter, Andrew, James, and John hauled their boats up on shore. They didn't even stop to clean and sell all those fish. Jesus wasn't finished calling disciples. One day he stopped at a booth where a man named Matthew was collecting taxes. Okay, now, first thing you gotta understand, no one talked to a tax collector unless they had to. These men were hired to collect taxes from their own people for the Roman government. They would charge extra to cover their own salaries. I mean, everybody hated them for it. But Jesus walked right up to Matthew.
"Come, follow me."
Everyone was shocked, including Matthew. But Matthew didn't hesitate. Something inside him just recognized that Jesus was special. He got up immediately to follow Jesus and even invited Jesus to come to a dinner party at his house. At Matthew's home, Jesus shared a meal with tax collectors and others who were seen as outcasts.
The religious leaders were shocked.
They grumbled to Jesus' disciples.
Why do you eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners?
Jesus heard what they were saying.
Healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. I have not come to get those who think they are right with God to follow me. I have come to get sinners to turn away from their sins.
Jesus wasn't worried about collecting the right followers or popular friends. Instead, he included everyone. Jesus chose to spend his time with people who saw how much they needed him, instead of those, like the religious leaders, who thought they were too important to need help. The end.
I wonder who Jesus would talk to if he came to my school.
That is a great question.
It's like Jesus' teaching went beyond anything anyone has ever heard before.
So, what's our part in the story?
Every single person ever is made in God's image. That means everybody you meet is important and worthy of love. Just like Jesus, we can choose to include the people who get overlooked and left out.
Maybe people who aren't popular.
Or people who are new or different.
Even people who have messed up.
Yeah, like there's this girl in my school who eats by herself at a table in the corner every day. I could invite her to have lunch with me.
Yeah, and there's this kid in my grade who always gets picked last for stuff. I could have him be my lab partner in science class.
I think you guys have got it. See you next time.
Today we will be talking about how Black History Month originated.
Black History Month is celebrated from February 1st to March 1st and was originally called Negro History Week.
Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month.
Black History Month began in 1915 after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery.
The ASNH sponsored a National Negro History Week in 1926, choosing the second week of February to coincide with the birthday of Frederick Douglass.
Due to the Civil Rights Movement and awareness of Black identity, Negro History Week evolved into Black History Month on many HBCU campuses.
President Ford recognized Black History Month in 1976, and he called upon the public to honor the unrecognized accomplishments of Black people.
Now Black History Month is a time to celebrate the legacy of African Americans throughout history, from people like Bessie Coleman to Barack Obama.
Sidney Poitier, actor, director, producer. He was the first Black American actor to win the Academy Award for Best Actor and first Black movie star.
Josephine Baker, American-born French actress, civil rights activist, and member of the French Resistance. She was the first Black American to star in a major motion picture.
Author, anthropologist, and filmmaker. She's most known for her novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God, which portrays racial struggles in early 1900s Florida. January 7, 1891 through January 28, 1960.
Barack Obama, American politician and attorney. The first Black American to serve as president in the United States of America.
Wow, that was great. Now back to our extreme hosts.
Jesus included everyone. He intentionally chose to spend his time with people who saw how much they needed him.
Instead of those, like the religious leaders who thought they were too good and important to need help.
We should include people like Jesus did. That's a big way that we can respect others and show them how important they are. Remember, include people who are left out.
Let's head to small group now and talk some more about being intentional about including those who are left out. Or if you're watching on YouTube, here's a discussion question for you. When have you felt left out?